Hi, my name's Craig Kausen. I'm the chairman of the board of the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity. If you're interested in finding out more information about the Red Dot Auction and the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity, watch the rest of this interview. As far as how the Center for Creativity came about, it was really an inspiration in 1999 when I was sitting with my mother. And in the 90s, I had the opportunity to travel with Chuck a lot to art gallery shows throughout the country, where he made speeches at places like ILM and USC and other educational locations. And there was this theme that I overheard as far as people telling stories about how they were inspired by Chuck, his writings, his cartoons, his philosophies. And I was recounting them. We were in a meeting with a couple of people, and my mother said, I've heard those my whole life and throughout the years, and it continues today. But at that point, the idea that came up was, or the question that came up was, how do we propagate this into the future? I mean, obviously, Chuck and his persona were that. He inspired that. And so then the thought was, well, how do we continue that? How do we, in essence, bottle that and continue? And so the idea of a not-for-profit, one of the people in the room was an attorney who said, well, if you're going to do it right, and create a nonprofit, and then figure out how to perpetuate that. So it took a number of years to really figure out what the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity, and that the word creativity came out of a brainstorming session in 2002, I believe. I think it was either the year of or the year after Chuck passed away. And a group of us got together and we had a 2-day summit on really what is the essence of Chuck Jones, because we hadn't called it the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity yet. And the word creativity continued to flow, and what that meant, and what it meant to the world, what it meant to individuals. And so all of a sudden, the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity idea came up as far as this inspiration to allow people to find their own unique creative genius inside, and the idea of then being able to create that spark inside a person. And really, Chuck talked about it quite a bit as far as providing the opportunity to have that essence, that creative genius come out uniquely inside somebody, is really just kind of leave them alone, give them quality materials, give them a space where they're not overly praised and overly criticized. And so this environment of opportunity to spark that creative genius was born with the name Chuck Jones Center for Creativity. The actual mission of the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity is to create environments and create opportunities for people to, and we're talking youth, we're talking, seniors, now we're doing programs with people on the autism spectrum, to create the opportunity for them to find their own unique creative genius. So that's the mission. And the vision of it is that everybody has that unique creative genius inside, and that creative genius would be known by the masses, not just the individual few. So starting in the early 2000s, we started to create programs, and it was actually Chuck's second wife, Marianne, who said, if we're going to continue this, because we sort of messed around with different opportunities, with hospitals and other things, and she said, let's do some programs that actually impact young people. And so over the years, we've evolved. It still is primarily, and I say young people, in that we have programs for 2 to 5 year old, sort of a mommy or grandma or grandpa and me sort of situation, where we're doing arts programs and storytelling. We've got things for elementary school. We've got junior high and high school programs, and they all adapt out of the same idea to one, hopefully they learn some sort of new technique potentially, but there is a discipline within these programs for them to take the materials and the opportunities that are in front of them and create something unique for themselves. So it's not follow the process to get to the same result. It is, here are the elements that are here for you. Here's a theme that we're working on today. Now go in and figure out what you would like to do with all of these things. And so the unique outcomes that each individual or sometimes teams can bring out in that unique situation really give them the opportunity to use their imagination, see something out there that they want to actually create, and then figure out the tools and the materials that are here in order to create that. So we do things with after-school programs around Southern California and other places throughout the country. We do workshops, the Chuck Jones Big Draws, where multidisciplinary programs where you'll anywhere from 5 to 15 different teaching artists in different genre can get together, and people can rotate around. Sometimes now we're doing it at sporting events with thousands of people throughout hours coming through. And then over the years, we've evolved into programs that include seniors who are looking to keep their brains fresh. There are neurologists who have identified that creative endeavors exercise more parts of the brain, and there really is the plasticity that needs to happen, that you exercise your brain in order to keep it young and fresh. And even programs that are developed for people with mild cognitive impairment and other dementia to hopefully either maintain what they have or regain some opportunities for their brain. And then I think one of the biggest growing areas that we've done in programs is to provide opportunities for people who live on the autism spectrum to come together in groups and create, and working together with other organizations like Autism Resource Moms and the Orange County Center for Autism. We have provided programs that allow these people from young age of 8 to 10 to those in their 20s and 30s even, who are living on the spectrum, to have the opportunity to exercise their brains. And some of the follow-on benefits to these folks who are participating are profound. And sometimes the parents or the caregivers have said that there are profound shifts in how they interact and see the world. So as we continue to evolve the programs for the Center for Creativity, that seems like there's endless opportunities to bring these philosophies that Chuck gave us and that our group of teaching artists continue to perpetuate are endless. And so what's coming next, I never know. Although we've created many of these programs over the years for in-person, when in early 2020, we had quite a few weekly programs already in play with after-school programs and community centers and at the center programs that were ongoing, Girl Scouts and autism, and all of a sudden, as everybody shut down, one of our teaching artists on the second day of, as we knew all the classes were gonna shut down, said, well, we can do this virtually. And so we started to provide at the very beginning of the pandemic these virtual programs, and we had visitors that we did through Zoom, anywhere from 100 people at a time to 15 or 20, and we started providing multiple classes every day. They provided by different teaching artists, and the ones we already had, as well as others who came to us during the pandemic that were interested in what we were doing and why we were doing it, and providing all these free programs. And so it gave us a skill set that we didn't have before in order to deliver these creativity-based, arts-based programs to the world, and we adapted and people adapted. And so over the time, both the pandemic and since, we've provided hundreds and hundreds of programs virtually. We're now doing presentations virtually. We're doing fundraisers virtually. We're going back to in-person, and we're mixing those in over the last year. But what we were able to do to adapt during that time gave us the opportunity to deliver programs from our teaching artists from anywhere to the students, the participants anywhere in the world. And so that, I believe, will actually be an ongoing benefit that we can enjoy long into the future. Well, I think one of the great things about art and arts-based activities is that there is a broad opportunity to bring your personal essence to it. And so there is no, as Chuck said, there is no king of art. There is no president of art. It is an individual opportunity to express something inside you. And I think just like Chuck, and he looked at his characters as part of him. And so the characters like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and Wile E. Coyote and each of the characters were part of him. And so really, if you look at that he was able to express his artwork, his characters, his cartoons, along with his fine art that he produced. And so each individual, without the constraints of having to have a right answer and a wrong answer, gives you the opportunity to really look inside and bring something out that maybe the world has not seen, and that maybe even the individual has not seen before. So it gives the freedom, both tangible, because it's not just imagination, because we can all imagine wonderful artwork. I can imagine the most classic, brilliant art that I can think of. I haven't done the 100,000 bad drawings in order to bring it from my imagination to the paper or the canvas, but that's my limitation on what I've been able and willing to put into it. But I think that the greatest benefit of allowing all people to delve into the arts, even if they're not classic artists, is that it allows parts of their brain that aren't necessarily hardwired already to flourish, and gives the opportunity to tap into that creative side of themselves. So I guess the inception of the Red Dot auction, the fundraiser, our primary fundraiser for the Center for Creativity, started, well, it must be 12 years ago, because we're now on Red Dot 12. And the idea came up from one of our former Center for Creativity members, Robert Patrick, and he said, well, what if we do an auction and we ask artists to donate works of art, but the difference is, what if we put them on the wall with no names associated? Everything is anonymous, and so that with the idea, and everything starts at the same price, and so and then it goes up, and the idea being that you bid on what you love, not on what you think you should love, and so, or what you think is important, and what speaks to you. And we had 42 artists donate, including some works by some pretty renowned artists, including that year secretly put in a Chuck Jones work of art under a pseudonym. We listed all the artists, but we didn't identify which ones they were. And so that continues. It's evolved a little bit over the years, and the Red Dot pricing and the opportunity. And Red Dot means that you get to buy it now. And so the artwork has a opening bid, and there's bidding that goes on, and then there's a buy it now price, and that the opportunity to actually say, I don't want to fight for this anymore. I go ahead and Red Dot it as a buy it now. And over the years, it has evolved into, we've had as many as 200 works of art donated to these, and events with hundreds and hundreds of people attending, and energy and the activity of the closings and each of the artwork, the battles that go on still for these anonymous works of art, really is a unique environment that I haven't seen before, and I certainly haven't seen since. But it is one of the cornerstones of our fundraising efforts each year, and so that's how it started, and it continues today. The Red Dot 12 will be primarily a virtual event, and so we've got hosts of Ben Olson, one of our board members, and also one of our great artists that we represent, and who started the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity in Chicagoland. He's opening up a new center in Central Florida, so it continues to propagate across the country. Also a host will be my mother, Linda, Chuck's daughter, and my brother. So I'm left out in the virtual world this time. We're doing a very small in-person reception for the donating artists who have given their artwork, many of them every year, and our sponsors who continue to support the event and the Center for Creativity at the Kidsium, which is part of the Bowers Museum in Santa Ana, and we've just started to collaborate with them. So there will be an in-person side where we'll feed the virtual programming into with the contributing artists and the sponsors in Santa Ana at the Kidsium space. And so we haven't done it this way before, but I'm sure it'll be wonderful. We've got Byron Howard, Academy Award-winning director of Encanto and other Disney films, coming in as a special guest virtually. We've got Eric Goldberg, who is, as Chuck noted, probably the best classic two-dimensional animation director and animator of our time, and some other special guests, including Eric Bauza, the current Looney Tunes voice, will be joining us during the event. So I would encourage everybody to tune in and see what happens at the Red Dot 12 virtually this year. I certainly have, and we reached out to some friends originally as far as artist friends who we thought might want to participate. And certainly our goal as the Center for Creativity resonates with many artists. And so they understand the importance of creativity and art, and they have gladly, many of them year after year, donated to the auction without asking for anything in return. And it has continued to propagate the importance of creativity and art into young people. And so I think that is important to them, that what they understand intrinsically inside of them, we have an organization that allows that message to go out to many, many people. So gladly, we are very fortunate to have so many artists and just general public who are interested in donating. And so it has continued to evolve to include many large internationally collected artists. We've had pieces donated from Nick Park, from Wallace and Gromit. We've had Eric Goldberg donate. And he's actually in the auction this year. But many artists, Fabio Napoleoni, who's an internationally collected artist, has donated many years in a row. And so that, I think, is the basis of why. I think asking them individually what it is. And Chuck was one who, whenever someone asked him to assist, he almost always said yes. And so I think that idea of saying yes to something, even if it isn't a benefit either financially or otherwise, back to Chuck, and certainly in this case, he donated artwork, he donated his time, he donated his participation in so many things. And so I think following that lead, many of the artists are wonderfully, and we're grateful that they are participating in that. I think this unique, first of all, the team, the hosts between Ben and my mother and my brother, these are uh, wonderful storytellers. Ben is a wonderful host of artists and celebrities. He's an artist himself. He understands all of these things that are being talked about, and he's a wonderful interviewer. I'm looking forward to the interviews with Byron Howard and Eric Goldberg and Eric Bauza. I mean, they are part of the history of animation and art in our society, and so I'm looking forward to that. I'm also, because I get to host the in-person artist and sponsor reception, I get the opportunity to see some of these contributing artists in person and thank them personally. So and I like being able to go in and see the artwork. All the artwork will be there in person, and I will be able to feed some of that video back into the actual virtual programming so that people can see it. You can see everything online, and all the bidding will be done online. We're using a new platform called Network for Good, which allows for bidding to be done from your phone or your computer. And I truly hope that there are wonderful battles going on, that people will be outbid and they get furious and decide that they have to buy it now, or get into fights with number 72 and 144 bidders are going back and forth, and so I think there's going to be a fun dynamic within the event that we haven't seen before. And so I every year at the Red Dot is a little different, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what the dynamic this year is all about. I think my hope for this is that there is a broader participation, because it is a virtual event, that there are people from all over the country. And we get a lot of responses when we invite people that they live in Texas or they live in the East Coast. And boy, it'd be great to be able to get out here and participate. But now, since it is a virtual event, that anybody in the country or anybody in the world can participate and be a part of this, not in just bidding, but actually being there live while all of this content is being shared. It is not a pre-recorded session. It will be live, and what happens, and we'll see what goes on in the space at the same time of interviewing these great people out of their own homes, and seeing what they have to add to this event. I think the importance of supporting nonprofits is a fundamental part of our society, and I think it goes unrecognized many times that nonprofits are a cornerstone of oftentimes evolving society. And so I think there's an enjoyment of being philanthropic and supporting causes that speak to each of us individually. But I think there's an unseen benefit that there is it connects us as a group to get together and say, I want to be a part of this. And I've certainly supported many fundraising efforts and nonprofits that I didn't expect to understand, that it made me feel good because I understood where the impact is being made. And each of the participants, whether it be school-age kids or those on the autism spectrum or those with mild cognitive impairment or anything else that we do, just the bonding of families coming together and doing something artistic and creative has fundamental impacts on each person. So I think in general, I mean, there are thousands of nonprofits, and whether it's the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity, I would encourage every person either to participate, volunteer, provide some time, provide some monetary support, whatever it is, to become involved, because I certainly didn't get involved until probably my 20s to understand how satisfying it is to be involved with a nonprofit that you care about their cause and the people involved and the connections that are made. And so I think it's a part of our community that gets overlooked because it is a not-for-profit, but there is a benefit just deep inside about participating and providing something extra to support these organizations. The ways that we can that people can get involved, certainly in the fundraisers like the Red Dot. We are planning to get the Chuck Jones Big Draws back happening, that are family events where creative juices and creative endeavors happen, taking programs from the center, come to drop in and draw and potentially make a donation. We're now at the Kidsium at the Bowers Museum, pretty much once a month, and hopefully to become more on Saturday mornings. It's also known as Saturday morning cartoons and drawing at the Kidsium at the Bowers in Santa Ana. If there's any connections to getting grants or sponsorships, I mean, all of the monetary things allow us to grow in more and more communities and provide more and more programs to the world. And so, but also volunteering. I mean, in Chicago and Central Florida and here, there are times that volunteering can become as important as monetary support. So there's more and more volunteering opportunities that come out at our programs, or just or possibly even becoming a teaching artist, if that is something that you have interest in, that there's an opportunity to become a teaching artist. So participating, just getting involved and reaching out and saying, how can I assist? Or if there is recurring donations that you get inspired to do. So there's really an infinite number of ways to support the activities of the Center for Creativity. And so each one is unique, just like I guess our creative genius is. So I think the vision has always been the same for the future of the Center for Creativity, is to grow throughout communities, throughout the country and throughout the world, to provide these creative programs. And we've developed literally well over 100 unique programs that we've delivered and continue to deliver to the world. And the idea being that in any community that wants to bring the programs of the Center for Creativity to their community in their unique way, whether that's a workshop, whether that's an event like a Chuck Jones Big Draw, whether that is an ongoing set of programs, whether that is a regional center like Chicagoland and Central Florida, that it continues to grow dynamically, and with opportunities and it always happens with people who get inspired that they want to get involved in their communities. And so through the museum exhibitions, we oftentimes will bring programs to a community and that they will then stay. And so the idea, eventually we would like a permanent physical location, a campus where all of this can percolate out of and the opportunities can be spread around the world. So we've got an interim space that we're working with now, and I don't know how long that will last, but hopefully for a long time, that we just started this year in 2022 with the Bowers Museum. Chuck was very good friends with Peter Keller, and we connected on a virtual event earlier this year, and we started having conversations, and now we are providing the programs of the Center for Creativity at the Kidsium that's part of Bowers. And so we've got a space now to use, and that came out of the blue, and so opportunities are there to pursue. But as we continue, this core campus space will eventually happen, and then it will be the incubator place for programs to go out both physically in person as well as virtually throughout the world. My name is Craig Kausen, happen to be one of Chuck Jones' grandsons, and I'm the chairman of the board of the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity. And if you would like to get involved or find out more information about the Red Dot Auction 12, go to chuckjonescenter.org. There's information about the fundraisers, about programs, about how you can get involved. So I look forward to seeing you and hopefully having you participate in the Red Dot 12 fundraising auction on June 25th.